In Chapter 1, Vincent Dubois, captain of the Premier League team Blackcastle, is kicked out of a pub after bringing Truffle, a teacup pig, and unofficial team mascot. The team debates where to continue celebrating their recent win, but Vincent receives a personal reminder on his phone, October 3rd, the day. It's an emotionally charged date he hasn't contacted someone about in 5 years. The reminder sends Vincent into a spiral, causing him to abandon the night's plans. He heads home, where a call from his sister Scarlett, who shares knowledge of the day, offers emotional support. Despite trying to stay distracted, Vincent notices his front gate is mysteriously open, triggering unease. Inside, he discovers a small, unmarked box wrapped in brown paper and a red ribbon waiting for him. Its appearance on such a significant date deeply unsettles him. When he opens it, what he finds inside leaves him stunned. What the fuck? In Chapter 2, Brooklyn's phone dies on the way to her father Frank Armstrong's house, leaving her anxious about missing an important call from her mother. When she arrives, she discovers her father, Blackcastle's head coach, forgot to tell her their dinner plans must be postponed due to a sudden meeting with team owner Vuk Markovic. She hides her disappointment, charges her phone, and calls her mother, but it goes to voicemail. Lonely and frustrated, Brooklyn decides not to sit alone all night. She visits her best friend Scarlett Dubois and Scarlett's boyfriend Asher Donovan at their mansion. Scarlett welcomes her warmly, and the two share fruit tarts while catching up. But seeing Scarlett and Asher's closeness highlights Brooklyn's own sense of isolation. When the doorbell rings for their takeaway, Brooklyn goes to retrieve it. But instead of a delivery driver, she finds a man she clearly recognizes and does not want to see. In Chapter 3, Vincent arrives unannounced at his sister Scarlett's house, where he's surprised to find Brooklyn answering the door. They exchange playful banter before joining Scarlett and her boyfriend Asher inside. Brooklyn leaves abruptly after checking her phone, raising Vincent's suspicions. During dinner, Vincent finally reveals what's been troubling him, after receiving an ominous package at his home containing a handmade crochet doll of himself labeled BFF. He fled to a hotel and hasn't returned. The doll is disturbingly accurate, even featuring a scar only a close observer would know about. Scarlett and Asher are alarmed. They recall a prior anonymous note left on Vincent's car and urge him to go to the police. Though hesitant, Vincent agrees to file a report. They also convince him to move in with them temporarily for safety, citing their better security. Despite his reluctance, Vincent agrees, comforted by their support and worried about the unknown stalker's intentions. In Chapter 4, Vincent lasts only 7 days living with Scarlett and Asher before an awkward near encounter with their intimate moment in the ballet studio sends him packing. He briefly moves in with teammate Adel, but Adel's overly enthusiastic and talkative nature quickly wears him down. Still unable to return to his own home due to the lingering fear from the intruder incident and a lack of police leads, Vincent explores alternative living arrangements. During brunch with Scarlett, Asher, Brooklyn, and Karina, the group suggests Brooklyn's place as an ideal option. Though Brooklyn initially resists, citing their clashing personalities, Vincent's teasing and reverse psychology provoke her into agreeing, on the condition he pays double rent. Despite the risks, particularly Brooklyn's father and coach Frank Armstrong discovering their arrangement, Vincent accepts. The tension between him and Brooklyn simmers beneath playful bickering, setting the stage for a complicated and potentially explosive new living situation. In Chapter 5, Brooklyn regrets being manipulated into letting Vincent move in, but she masks her frustration with playful sabotage, decorating his room with sparkly bedding and an army of stuffed animals. Vincent takes it in stride, deflecting her irritation with charm and unfazed banter. They establish strict house rules, including Brooklyn's most important: no girls over. Vincent agrees, pointedly emphasizing he has no interest in bringing other girls home, which unnerves Brooklyn more than she wants to admit. Behind their snarky exchanges, Brooklyn is dealing with deeper stress, a lack of job security at Blackcastle, a failed interview elsewhere, and lingering hurt from her mother's thoughtless pregnancy announcement. Meanwhile, Vincent tries to downplay the threat from his home intruder, but Brooklyn sees through his bravado and offers quiet support. The emotional connection between them deepens subtly, even as they both pretend it's all still just temporary. A fragile new intimacy begins to form. In Chapter 6, Vincent finishes a grueling training session with his Blackcastle teammates, hyped for their upcoming Champions League match against Milan. Though the mood is lighthearted, Coach unexpectedly calls Vincent into his office, Fearing he's been caught living with Brooklyn, Vincent braces for confrontation, only to learn Coach is concerned about the break-in at Vincent's home. Coach demands honesty and reminds Vincent that the team is like a family. Vincent lies about staying at a hotel, narrowly avoiding exposing his living situation with Brooklyn. Meanwhile, Brooklyn struggles with the increasing tension of sharing her flat with Vincent. Despite trying to push him out with strict chores and snarky rules, their banter takes a charged turn when she catches him vacuuming shirtless. A steamy, emotionally loaded moment escalates until Brooklyn throws a cutting insult, accidentally triggering a deep reaction in Vincent. He abruptly withdraws, leaving her confused and realizing she may have touched a nerve she didn't understand. In Chapter 7, Vincent suffers a panic attack in the shower after Brooklyn jokes about him moving back home, triggering unresolved trauma from the home invasion. He reflects on the psychological toll of the violation, how the fear, not physical harm, makes his house feel unsafe. He acknowledges he can't return until he feels mentally ready or the stalker is caught. Avoiding Brooklyn all weekend, Vincent returns Monday to find her working on nutrition plans. Their playful banter resumes, but underneath the sarcasm simmers an unspoken mutual attraction. When the AC breaks and Vincent strips off his shirt again, Brooklyn flusters. The tension escalates until Vincent proposes a bet. Whoever initiates a kiss first loses. Despite knowing the risks, especially with Black Castle's no fraternization policy, Brooklyn accepts. The bet sets the stakes. Attraction is acknowledged, but physical action is forbidden. With their pride and jobs on the line, they enter a dangerous game neither intends to lose. In Chapter 8, Vincent's relaxing bake-off night turns into a seductive standoff when Brooklyn unexpectedly joins him wearing only an oversized Black Castle football shirt. It's day one of their no-kiss bet, and both begin a passive-aggressive game of temptation, through touch, proximity, and casual intimacy, while watching TV. The banter slowly gives way to something more vulnerable. Brooklyn reveals she's applying for the ISNA Innovator Award, a prestigious honor in her field with a $20,000 prize and mentorship. Vincent is genuinely supportive and encourages her, shocked she doubted his reaction. But the mood shifts when Brooklyn shares that she hasn't been offered a job at Black Castle after her internship ends. Vincent is visibly upset, believing she's essential to the team. The chapter ends with a quiet acknowledgement of how meaningful their connection has become. Vincent realizes too late that he dropped his guard, and if Brooklyn had made a move, he would have lost the bet without hesitation. In Chapter 9, Brooklyn reflects on her growing attraction to Vincent and the awkwardness of their no-kiss bet, which backfires when their bake-off night becomes genuinely fun and emotionally connective. She admits she finds Vincent infuriatingly appealing. Even his post-shower scent is distracting, but remains committed to resisting him. At a long-delayed dinner with her father, Frank Armstrong, Brooklyn notices he's unusually dressed up, highlighting how out of sync everything feels. Despite awkward small talk, she tries to reconnect with him, hoping to salvage their strained relationship. The conversation turns unexpectedly intimate when Frank brings up Brooklyn's mother and her recent pregnancy. Brooklyn lies about being happy for her mother, masking deep feelings of abandonment and resentment. They continue bonding as Frank warns her against dating footballers. Brooklyn promises not to, though Vincent again invades her thoughts. By the chapter's end, she's uneasy at the idea of him out on a date, despite claiming she doesn't care. In Chapter 10, Vincent joins teammates Asher, Adil, and Noah at the Angry Boar pub, where they tease him relentlessly about living with Brooklyn, Coach's daughter, and accuse him of having a crush. Vincent denies it, but his growing feelings are evident, especially when he reacts protectively to Adil's crude comments about her. Despite being approached by a beautiful fan who invites him to a club, Vincent declines, his thoughts drifting back to Brooklyn. Later, when he texts her, he's visibly relieved to learn she's at dinner with her dad and not on a date. Their brief, teasing exchange over text leaves Vincent smiling, though her final message is vague and ends the conversation. His friends notice his distracted mood, but he deflects their questions. As the night continues, Vincent repeatedly checks his phone, clearly more invested in Brooklyn than he admits. The chapter highlights his emotional shift, from denial to subtle longing. In Chapter 11, Brooklyn assists with Black Castle's nutrition presentation, only to be sidelined by her boss Jones, who cuts her off during her portion. Afterward, He agrees to write her a recommendation for the prestigious ISNA Innovator Award, but subtly credits her parentage over her merit. Unexpectedly, he also offers her a full-time junior nutritionist position, but Brooklyn feels conflicted, unsure if the offer was earned or given due to her father's influence. Later, as she leaves work, Vincent offers her a ride and learns about the job offer. His support cheers her up briefly, but she hides her doubts. Their conversation is cut short when they discover a mysterious envelope on Vincent's car. Inside is a photo of the creepy doll from his previous break-in, arranged with red marbles spelling, "Did you like your gift?" The chapter ends with tension mounting as the stalker threat resurfaces, clouding Brooklyn's future decisions. In Chapter 12, Vincent and Brooklyn are rattled by the reappearance of the stalker, who left a photo of the doll from the earlier break-in, possibly taken before the intrusion. Though shaken, Vincent takes the picture to the police, but their lukewarm response leaves him frustrated. To shake off the fear, Brooklyn suggests a spontaneous trip to a discreet arcade. The night helps them relax, and they bond over games, childhood stories, and family wounds. Brooklyn briefly opens up about her emotionally distant mother, while Vincent reflects on his complex feelings toward his birth mother who abandoned him. Their connection deepens during air hockey and late-night snacks, and a near kiss heightens their unresolved tension. However, Vincent pulls back, wary of their bet and wanting her to make the first move. The chapter ends with him steering the evening toward a casual game of pool, suppressing his desire and choosing patience over risk. In Chapter 13, Brooklyn and Vincent's night at the arcade deepens their emotional connection as they play pool and trade secrets, ranging from awkward childhood memories to heartfelt confessions. Brooklyn reveals she initially pursued sports nutrition to connect with her distant father, while Vincent shares a private story about letting a child's parents witness his first steps, instead of claiming the moment himself. The fun derails when Vincent leaves to get water, and Brooklyn chats with a fellow San Diegan named Mason. Their friendly conversation unsettles Vincent, who returns visibly irritated and coldly dismisses Mason despite his politeness. Tension erupts when Mason asks if Brooklyn and Vincent are dating, prompting her to clarify they're just roommates. She exchanges numbers with Mason, further frustrating Vincent. Afterward, Brooklyn confronts Vincent about his rudeness, but he deflects with jealousy and suspicion. Their unresolved tension lingers as they leave in silence, the camaraderie of earlier giving way to friction and confusion. In Chapter 14, Brooklyn and Vincent return to their flirtatious, bet-driven antics, but something deeper simmers beneath the surface. Despite trading teasing routines, like yoga in the living room or shirtless cooking, both sense an emotional shift following the arcade. Vincent ramps up security at Brooklyn's flat due to his stalker, signaling his growing protectiveness. Their hallway encounter, where Brooklyn wears only a towel, heightens their mutual tension. When Vincent reveals his nerves about an upcoming Zenith sponsorship dinner, Brooklyn surprises them both with a heartfelt pep talk. Touched, Vincent invites her as his +1. Not a date, he insists, which she accepts. Later, Brooklyn wrestles with her feelings as Mason finally asks her out. Though he's ideal on paper, he doesn't give her the same spark as Vincent. Meanwhile, Vincent lies awake obsessing over Brooklyn, jealousy flaring at the thought of Mason. Both are clearly falling for each other, but neither is ready to admit it. In Chapter 15, Brooklyn spends a cozy evening with Scarlett and Karina, helping Karina recover from another failed side hustle attempt, this time calligraphy for an Etsy card shop. They bond over snacks, laughter, and a playful paperball fight that lifts Brooklyn's mood after a stressful week and mounting pressure from her ISNA application. The girls discuss Vincent, whom Brooklyn hasn't told about the bet. She lies by omission, hiding her deepening feelings and uncertainty over how Scarlett would react. Later, Brooklyn joins Vincent as his +1 at a high-stakes Zenith sponsorship dinner. The evening goes well, and Vincent impresses the execs, especially after Brooklyn silently supports him during the tense ambassador pitch. However, the mood shifts when executives mistake them for a couple. Vincent quickly clarifies they're just friends, cooling Brooklyn's rising hopes. On the drive home, she rejects a second date with Mason, and though Vincent stays quiet, a small smile hints at his hidden satisfaction. In Chapter 16, Vincent plays a grueling away match in Manchester, where Blackcastle suffers a loss after a controversial referee call. Frustrated but trying to boost morale, Adil hosts a consolation celebration in his hotel room featuring a chaotic Black Castle book club session centered on dinosaur erotica. Despite the comic relief, Vincent remains mentally preoccupied with Zenith's silence after the sponsorship dinner, especially their reaction when he clarified Brooklyn wasn't his girlfriend. His inner thoughts reveal a growing desire for her, contrasting the reality of their current friendship. Later, Vincent chats with teammates Noah and Asher, deflects Adil's curiosity about who he's texting, Brooklyn, and receives a comforting text from her about the match. Before turning in, Coach unexpectedly brings up Brooklyn's unaccepted job offer with Jones. Vincent advises he speak to her directly. Despite the day's chaos, his focus remains on Brooklyn, whose unanswered message leaves him unsettled, even as Bake Off plays in the background. In Chapter 17, Brooklyn avoids replying to Vincent's text and throws herself into working on her ISNA essay. When Vincent returns unexpectedly early, she's flustered but proposes they make pancakes together as part of her plan to win their bet. However, Vincent seems distant and uncharacteristically terse. As they cook, the tension builds until Brooklyn confronts him about his mood. Vincent explodes, confessing that being around her is unbearable because of his feelings. When Brooklyn questions if he's just trying to win the bet, his hurt reaction causes their dynamic to fracture. The emotional intensity leads to distraction. Vincent burns the pancakes, starting a small fire that sets off the smoke alarm. As they scramble to stop the chaos, the doorbell rings. Brooklyn opens the door without checking, only to find her father unexpectedly on the doorstep. The chapter ends in disaster. Her dad witnesses a shirtless Vincent and demands answers, escalating the situation dramatically. In Chapter 18, Vincent and Brooklyn face Coach's fury after he discovers they've been living together in secret. Despite their explanations that they're not romantically involved and that Vincent pays rent, Coach is livid, citing club policy and public perception. Tensions rise as Brooklyn challenges her father's priorities and accuses him of being more concerned about image than her well-being. Their confrontation exposes the cracks in their distant relationship, with Brooklyn pointing out his emotional absence in her life. To de-escalate, Vincent offers to move out, but Brooklyn insists he stay for safety. Coach demands he move anyway, to his own house. The argument intensifies when Brooklyn shocks both men by refusing the Black Castle job offer, choosing to step out of her father's shadow. Coach is stunned by her defiance. Despite the chaos, Vincent tries to mediate, but Coach remains firm. Vincent is to pack up and move in with him immediately, setting up the next conflict. In Chapter 19, Vincent struggles with his new reality, living under Coach's roof after being caught staying with Brooklyn. Though not openly hostile, Coach imposes grueling routines. Daily 5 a.m. Runs, awkward dinners, and strict supervision, including likely spying on Vincent's phone. The team finds out about the move and mocks him in their group chat, pushing Vincent's patience, especially when a teammate makes inappropriate comments about Brooklyn. Despite still texting Brooklyn, their communication is distant, strained by unspoken feelings and the fallout from their near kiss. At work, they avoid each other to prevent further conflict with Coach. Things escalate when Coach informs Vincent that all players must participate in the Black Castle Holiday Gala's bachelor auction, something Vincent had previously avoided. Though he protests, even citing his ongoing stalker threat, Coach doesn't relent. The chapter ends with unresolved tension, and Vincent contemplating reaching out to Brooklyn, knowing their next conversation could change everything. In Chapter 20, Brooklyn is overwhelmed as she deals with the fallout of rejecting Black Castle's job offer. Her annoying co-worker Henry presses her for answers, and she escapes the office only to run into her father. Their second confrontation is as painful as the first. He focuses on her career decision rather than their strained relationship, refusing to understand her desire to forge her own identity beyond his shadow. When he offers to let her move in with him, she refuses, highlighting the contradictions in his behavior regarding Vincent. The unresolved tension leaves her emotionally drained. Later, Henry's casual mention of the ISNA award and job offers adds more pressure, triggering a breakdown. Brooklyn hides in the restroom and sobs, overwhelmed by career stress, her father's disapproval, and her uncertain future. Vincent finds her, comforts her, and gently lifts her spirits with support and humor. Their bond deepens, culminating in Brooklyn accepting his invitation to join his birthday trip to Budapest. In Chapter 21, Brooklyn travels to Budapest with Karina for Vincent's birthday trip, opting not to inform her father to avoid further conflict. Upon arrival at the villa, they reconnect with the group, including Scarlett, Asher, Adel, Samson, Seth, and unexpectedly, Noah. As Brooklyn settles in, her thoughts remain preoccupied with Vincent's absence, unusual for his birthday. Curious and nervous, she eventually visits his room with a birthday gift. Their encounter is electric, with flirtation masking deeper feelings. Brooklyn gifts Vincent a custom set of humorous underwear which delights him. Their chemistry intensifies, though they remain on the edge of something more. As Vincent steps away to change, Brooklyn notices his phone lighting up with messages, one being a cryptic calendar notification. Birthday, do not contact. His sudden return and guarded reaction hint at emotional walls. Brooklyn leaves with questions and a sense of unease, realizing Vincent may be more complex and closed off than she thought. In Chapter 22, Vincent reflects on the emotional weight of his birthday and the private reminder he set do not contact to avoid past spirals. After working out, he joins the guys for lunch while the girls explore the city. He takes a call from his mother, who gently presses him on his love life. Though tempted to mention Brooklyn, he denies having anyone special. That lie lingers as he prepares for the evening's celebrations. At dinner, Vincent is visibly affected by Brooklyn's beauty and presence, realizing his feelings for her run deeper than he admitted. Despite trying to act normal, his behavior shifts and he distances himself to maintain control. The group surprises him with inclusion in the Black Castle Baddies chat, a sign of camaraderie. Later, just before clubbing, Vincent receives a chilling anonymous text on his private phone, one only a few people have access to. The message shakes him, hinting that someone is watching and knows far too much. In Chapter 23, Brooklyn notices something is wrong with Vincent as they leave the restaurant. He confides in her about receiving a disturbing anonymous text, likely from the same person who previously stalked him. Brooklyn reassures him and suggests alerting the detective, but agrees to keep the incident secret from their friends. Vincent softens and compliments her before they join the group at a Budapest megaclub. The party is lively, shots, dancing, and teasing, but Brooklyn feels a deep emotional pull toward Vincent despite dancing briefly with Noah. When Vincent sees them together, jealousy flares. He cuts in, and their intimate dance leads to a tense, emotionally charged moment. Instead of escalating, Vincent abruptly suggests getting pizza. They share a private, tender, late-night walk through Budapest's quiet streets. As rain begins to fall, Brooklyn reflects on her desire to feel truly important to someone. The moment builds toward a confession as she asks if Vincent would have kissed her that night at her flat. In Chapter 24, Brooklyn's question, "Would you have kissed me?" finally cracks Vincent's emotional walls. He confesses without hesitation that he would have kissed her, even if it meant losing their original bet. He affirms his feelings with intensity, saying he'd lose every bet in the world just to be with her. The emotional tension between them ignites into a passionate, consuming kiss, confirming their long-simmering connection. Their second kiss deepens their bond, expressing all the desire and restraint they've bottled up for weeks. The rain, thunder, and isolation of the midnight street amplify the moment. Their embrace is interrupted by a group of rowdy frat boys, whose drunken shouting snaps them out of their daze and into laughter. Still soaked but elated, they head back to the villa hand in hand. Vincent's fingers, twined with Brooklyn's, mark a quiet, powerful shift. Their feelings are no longer buried. They've crossed a line, and there's no going back. In Chapter 25, Brooklyn and Karina wait in the villa foyer for their airport cab as Brooklyn reveals her kiss with Vincent. Karina is supportive and urges her to tell Scarlett. At the airport, Brooklyn notices tension between Noah and Karina, but the reason is unclear. During a stop at a convenience store, Seth accidentally reveals that Brooklyn's father extended her job decision deadline without her knowledge, making her furious. 4 days later, at the Black Castle Holiday Gala, Brooklyn avoids her father while preparing to confess to Scarlett. With Karina's encouragement, she finally admits she kissed Vincent in Budapest. Scarlett surprises her with full support, admitting she saw the connection long ago. Relieved, Brooklyn enjoys the gala, watching bachelor auction antics. As Vincent is reluctantly auctioned off, Leopard Print bids $30,000, nearly winning him, until Brooklyn, in a bold and emotional moment, stands and shouts a last-second bid of $35,000, stunning the room and herself. In Chapter 26, Brooklyn stuns everyone at the gala by bidding £35,000 on Vincent during the bachelor auction, trying to save him from a night with leopard print. Although she doesn't win, Vincent realizes her intent and races to find her after the event. He's intercepted by Lloyd, who shares news that Vincent is a finalist for the coveted Zenith campaign and then delayed further by Brooklyn's father, who interrogates him about her bid. Meanwhile, Brooklyn, disappointed and alone, works on her ISNA application at home. She's surprised when Vincent shows up at her door. Their reunion quickly turns passionate as they finally give in to the chemistry between them. Afterward, they share a heartfelt conversation confirming their exclusive relationship. Vincent assures Brooklyn he's done hiding and wants the world to know they're together. Though nervous about confronting her father, they agree to face it together. The chapter ends with them deeply connected, emotionally and physically united at last. In Chapter 27, Vincent sneaks back home after spending the night with Brooklyn, only to find Coach waiting up for him. Their tense confrontation shifts when Coach questions Brooklyn's absence and suspects something more between them. Vincent initially deflects, but ultimately chooses honesty, revealing that he and Brooklyn are officially dating. He explains their emotional connection and insists his feelings are real, not a fleeting distraction. Coach is initially cold and skeptical, citing how many footballers lack lasting commitment. However, after Vincent passionately defends his love for Brooklyn, Coach reluctantly agrees not to stand in their way, but issues a stern warning. If Vincent hurts her, there will be consequences. The emotional tension eases slightly as Coach opens up about his regrets as a father. Although still disapproving, he grants conditional acceptance. As punishment, Coach moves up their training to 4 a.m. Despite exhaustion, Vincent feels lighter, now free to be with Brooklyn and more committed than ever. In Chapter 28, Brooklyn wakes up after her night with Vincent feeling calm and content. She submits her ISNA application and realizes she wants a job that excites her, not just anything. Recalling her old grad program, she emails her career counselor for help. Her peace is interrupted when her father visits unexpectedly. He reveals Vincent told him everything, and they finally have an honest, emotional conversation. He admits his past mistakes and agrees, grudgingly, to tolerate her relationship with Vincent. Shortly after, Brooklyn's mother calls with chaotic energy, revealing she's 8 months pregnant and wants Brooklyn to fly to California for the birth. Reeling, Brooklyn texts Vincent and meets him at Covent Garden. They talk about her parents and reaffirm their connection. The chapter ends with a surprise encounter with Mason, followed by fans recognizing Vincent and chasing them. After escaping, they share a deep kiss, cementing their relationship and moving forward together as a couple. In Chapter 29, Vincent plays in Blackcastle's Boxing Day match against Newcastle, pushing through exhaustion to make a critical free kick goal in the final minutes. His successful shot secures the team's 1-0 victory, lifting morale and cementing his leadership. Brooklyn watches from the sidelines, proud and emotional. After the game, she chats briefly with her father, and though he's still reserved, their relationship continues to improve. Later, Brooklyn joins Scarlett and Karina to prepare for the team's Christmas dinner, where Brooklyn finally meets Vincent's father, Jean-Paul. Despite initial nerves, Brooklyn's humor and charm win him over. The evening unfolds warmly, full of teasing, food, and affection, especially after Vincent and Brooklyn share a kiss in front of the team, confirming their relationship. Amid the holiday joy, Vincent receives a call from Smith. The chapter ends with a revelation. The mysterious intruder who had targeted him in Budapest has been found, setting up the next major development. In Chapter 30, Vincent and Brooklyn meet with Smith, who confirms that the stalker behind the threatening messages is Ethan Brown, an obsessive Blackcastle fan. Though the evidence found, a shrine in Ethan's home, confirms his unhealthy fixation, legal repercussions are limited. Ethan receives only minor charges, and Vincent is advised to file an injunction. Though relieved, Vincent remains unsettled by Ethan's one careless mistake that led to his capture. Afterward, Brooklyn and Vincent talk about their families. Brooklyn opens up about her parents' messy divorce, while Vincent shares an even deeper secret. He's known the identity and location of his birth mother, Charlene Davies, for years. Though he never contacted her, he visited her home once and has kept her number saved, haunted by feelings of abandonment. They spend the night alone at the empty Blackcastle Stadium, where Brooklyn reassures him with unwavering support. The chapter ends with a quiet, powerful kiss under the stadium lights. In Chapter 31, Vincent and Brooklyn deepen their relationship following their vulnerable conversation on the empty Black Castle pitch. Their kiss escalates into an intimate encounter, marking a major emotional turning point for both of them. The night reinforces how strongly they feel. Vincent realizes just how deeply Brooklyn affects him and how much he trusts her, while Brooklyn openly responds to him with the same intensity. Afterward, they lie together on the pitch, sharing warmth in the winter night and savoring the private moment before returning inside. Their closeness solidifies into a deeper bond, and the evening becomes symbolic of a new level of commitment between them. As they leave the stadium hand in hand, Vincent reflects that the most dangerous force in his life isn't the stalker investigation or the unresolved questions about his birth mother. It's Brooklyn, because she holds the power to unravel him emotionally in a way no one else ever has. In Chapter 32, Brooklyn's internship at Black Castle concludes with a modest HR farewell. She says goodbye to the players and staff, noting the personal messages she received compared to Henry's impersonal farewell. She firmly rejects Henry's job offer, reaffirming her decision to leave. Before departing, she visits the empty changing room to reflect on her experiences at the club. Vincent joins her, and they share a private, intimate moment before discussing her upcoming flight to San Diego for her mother's C-section. Their conversation is interrupted by Coach, who ensures they adhere to boundaries and reminds Brooklyn of her early departure. Brooklyn collects her belongings, and she and Vincent leave the club together. She reflects on the relationship she built, the lessons learned, and the growth she experienced. Despite leaving Black Castle, she feels prepared and optimistic for the next chapter of her life, appreciating her accomplishments and looking forward to future opportunities. In Chapter 33, Brooklyn returns to San Diego for her mother's upcoming C-section and is immediately reminded of why she left. Though the ocean air stirs nostalgia, she realizes London and Vincent now feel more like home. After arriving, she checks into a hotel to avoid staying with her mother and stepfather. Visiting their mansion, she's greeted warmly by Harry, but met with her mother's usual superficiality and criticism. Brooklyn spends time with her half-brother Charlie, who softens her frustrations, though her mother quickly becomes distracted by salon plans and social appearances. Feeling dismissed, Brooklyn returns to her hotel and battles loneliness, missing her life in London. Just as she considers calling Vincent, a knock at her door reveals him standing there, having flown across the world to support her. His unexpected arrival replaces her isolation with relief, marking a major emotional turning point and deepening their relationship even further. In Chapter 34, Vincent joins Brooklyn on a surprise trip to California, aiming to support her during her mother's pregnancy. At brunch with Brooklyn and her mother Sienna, Vincent quickly realizes Sienna is self-centered and critical, focused on herself, and dismissive of Brooklyn's accomplishments and choices. Sienna attempts to belittle Brooklyn and assert control over her decisions, including her career and relationship with Vincent. When Brooklyn briefly leaves the table, Vincent confronts Sienna, calling out her narcissistic behavior and defending Brooklyn. Sienna lashes out, claiming Brooklyn is desperate for her approval and threatening Vincent's relationship with her. Upon Brooklyn's return, she asserts herself firmly, confronting her mother about years of neglect and emotional manipulation, rejecting Sienna's attempts to control or guilt her. Brooklyn announces she is leaving and will not participate in her mother's games, ending the confrontation. Vincent supports her, consoling her in the car as they prepare to return to London, affirming Brooklyn's autonomy and their relationship. In Chapter 35, Brooklyn reflects on her growing independence from her mother after their confrontation in California. She feels liberated from her mother's control and regrets only missing farewells with her half-siblings, Charlie and Teresa. Back in London, she celebrates Black Castle's win over Munich with friends at the pub. The team's camaraderie and recent successes, including Vincent's strong free-kick performance, highlight their improving dynamics. Brooklyn shares news of a new career opportunity, an interview to become a personal nutritionist for Derek Moore's daughter, Haley, a rising gymnastics star. While excited, she also notices Lloyd, connected to Vincent's Zenith test shoot, entering the pub. Vincent then receives confirmation from Lloyd that he has officially secured the Zenith Global Men's Ambassador deal. Amid the celebrations, Brooklyn checks her ISNA application and learns she was not selected as a finalist, dampening her excitement. Despite this, she supports Vincent's achievement while processing her own professional setback. In Chapter 36, Brooklyn reflects privately on the ISNA rejection and focuses on preparing for her interview with Derek Moore. She views the Moore position as a chance to redeem herself professionally. During the video interview, Derek and his daughter Haley are impressed by Brooklyn's experience, creativity, and personalized approach to athlete nutrition. They offer her a verbal job offer with full benefits, salary, and a bonus if Haley reaches nationals, but reveal the role requires relocation to Chicago, not remote work as she expected. Brooklyn requests time to consider the move, needing to discuss it with her family. Her focus is interrupted when Vincent arrives unexpectedly, concerned about suspicious activity. He shows Brooklyn a photo of them kissing at the Angry Boar, noting it fits the intruder's pattern. Brooklyn points out Ethan Brown has an injunction, but Vincent confirms the intruder is a different person and Brown has alibis, indicating a new threat remains. In Chapter 37, Vincent relocates himself and Brooklyn to a hotel for safety after the intruder reappears, insisting on hiring a bodyguard for both of them. Brooklyn resists, reasoning the photo could have been taken innocently. They discuss the photo and the intruder's MO, realizing Ethan Brown is no longer involved. Amid the tension, Brooklyn updates Vincent on her Moore interview, revealing the position is in Chicago and she must decide by Monday night. Vincent struggles with the thought of her leaving London, but encourages her to weigh the pros and cons without influence. Brooklyn lists the benefits of the Moore job: salary, creative freedom, and career advancement, against the drawbacks of relocating away from London, her family, friends, and Vincent. She ultimately decides to decline the position to stay in London. She also reveals she did not make the ISNA final round, which Vincent consoles her over. They embrace, bracing for the decision deadline. In Chapter 38, Vincent and Brooklyn spend the weekend isolated in a hotel suite, avoiding public exposure after the intruder reappears. They maintain secrecy about the incident, telling only Coach, Scarlett, Asher, and Karina. Vincent arranges interviews with a private security firm to protect them both, frustrated that police can offer little due to the photo not constituting an explicit threat. Despite this, he remains vigilant and implements safety measures. During the weekend, he reflects on his past losses and fears for Brooklyn's safety, recognizing her as someone uniquely important in his life. On Monday, after confirming with Smith that the intruder may become violent and could target Brooklyn, Vincent resolves to prioritize her protection. Once back at the hotel, he confronts Brooklyn and advises her to accept the Moore job in Chicago, framing it as the best opportunity for her career despite the personal distance it would create between them. In Chapter 39, Brooklyn struggles with the decision to accept the Moore job in Chicago, torn between her career ambitions and her relationship with Vincent. Vincent urges her to take the job, emphasizing that distance will not end their relationship and framing it as an opportunity she cannot pass up. He reveals that part of his insistence stems from safety concerns due to the intruder, explaining that she will be safer in Chicago while he arranges security. Brooklyn is emotionally conflicted, but recognizes the career clarity the Moores offer. Vincent reassures her that he will remain present and supportive regardless of the distance. After their heartfelt conversation, Brooklyn accepts the reality of the decision and acts on it, composing and sending her formal response to the Moores, committing to the position. The chapter closes with Brooklyn taking decisive action while navigating her emotions, Vincent's reassurance, and the looming security threat from the intruder. In Chapter 40, Brooklyn departs London for Chicago to begin her new job with the Moores. She says heartfelt goodbyes to Scarlett and Karina at the airport, reflecting on their support and the significance of the move. Her living arrangements in Chicago are set, with a furnished apartment and assistance for her belongings from London. Despite her excitement, seeing Vincent on a magazine cover at the airport overwhelms her with emotion. Unexpectedly, Vincent appears in the airport to give her a proper farewell, with his bodyguard Spike ensuring security. They share an intimate, tearful goodbye before she boards her flight. Meanwhile, Vincent struggles during training, distracted by Brooklyn's absence, and Coach notices, advising him to channel his emotions into his performance for the upcoming knockout match. Back at the hotel, Vincent maintains vigilance with Spike and prepares for their scheduled video call, coping with the loneliness of their long-distance relationship while reaffirming his commitment to Brooklyn. In Chapter 41, Brooklyn settles into her second week in Chicago working for the Moores as Haley's personal nutritionist. She finalizes Haley's weekly meal plan, adjusting carbohydrate intake and preparing for regionals, while also ensuring backups via the nutrition app. The onboarding process and creating an individualized system with Haley goes smoothly, confirming Brooklyn's preference for working one-on-one rather than with a team. With her afternoon free, Brooklyn connects with Vincent over a long-distance video call, sharing details of their days and maintaining intimacy despite the distance. Their conversation transitions into sexual exploration, with Brooklyn and Vincent engaging in mutual stimulation and sexting, pushing boundaries, and building trust in their relationship. The experience deepens their emotional and physical connection, providing a sense of closeness despite being apart. Afterward, Brooklyn reflects on missing Vincent but takes comfort in their ongoing communication and shared intimacy while continuing to adapt to her new life and responsibilities in Chicago. In Chapter 42, Vincent balances his professional responsibilities with his long-distance relationship with Brooklyn. As Black Castle progresses toward the Champions League semifinals, he maintains communication with her through texts, calls, and video chats, keeping his emotions in check to avoid affecting her experience in Chicago. Spike, his bodyguard, convinces him to move back home after fans discover his hotel residence, ensuring both security and stability. Vincent continues his role as Zenith's men's ambassador, completing a promotional video shoot at Black Castle with Lloyd and Sandra. Despite his achievements, Vincent begins to reassess his priorities, questioning whether he would consider transferring to Chicago to be closer to Brooklyn. He consults Lloyd, who warns against jeopardizing his career for a relationship, citing the potential impact on his professional trajectory and sponsorships. Vincent asserts that being with Brooklyn is his priority, realizing that his personal life and love for her now hold greater importance than external accolades or brand validation. In Chapter 43, Brooklyn attends the Women's Gymnastics Regional Championships in Seattle with Haley, her father, and coach, overseeing Haley's performance as a top individual event specialist. Haley achieves a perfect 15.2 on vault, earning a spot at Nationals, and she and Brooklyn celebrate, acknowledging Brooklyn's role in optimizing Haley's nutrition and preparation. Afterward, Brooklyn confirms arrangements with Derek Moore to take time off for Black Castle matches when needed. 2 days later, Brooklyn returns to London, enjoying the city and planning a private reunion with Vincent. She navigates the tube, shops briefly, and coordinates with Spike for a secure arrival at Vincent's house. While waiting for him, she unexpectedly encounters Mason in a cafe, briefly converses, and leaves quickly to maintain her schedule. Following Spike's instructions, Brooklyn enters Vincent's home, taking in the familiar surroundings and preparing for their reunion. As she anticipates seeing Vincent, she is momentarily shocked by an unexpected visitor standing in the doorway. In Chapter 44, Brooklyn returns to Vincent's London home to surprise him and is unexpectedly confronted by Seth, who claims to have a key and begins accusing her of cheating. Sensing danger, Brooklyn realizes Seth is obsessed, aggressive, and potentially violent. He corners her in the kitchen, threatens her with a knife, and lashes out verbally, claiming he is protecting Vincent from her. Brooklyn instinctively fights back, jabbing him, stomping on his foot, and punching him, causing Seth to drop the knife. As he continues to attack, Spike intervenes and restrains Seth, allowing Brooklyn to breathe and escape. Vincent arrives at the scene, finding Seth pinned by Spike. Vincent confronts Seth with lethal authority, warning him never to approach Brooklyn again. Detective Smith and paramedics arrive shortly after. Seth is arrested and treated for injuries. Brooklyn sustains only minor cuts and bruises. The ordeal ends with Vincent embracing Brooklyn, relieved and protective, affirming her safety and welcoming her home. In Chapter 45, Vincent and Brooklyn relax at his home after the police leave, with Seth in custody and facing serious charges. Spike has gone home, and Brooklyn's father is informed, but delayed until morning. Vincent reflects on the traumatic events, remaining protective and relieved Brooklyn is safe. Brooklyn reveals she will stay in London until next Thursday to prep Haley for Nationals and attend Vincent's semifinal match. She also shares that if Haley places at Nationals, she may move back to London permanently, as the Moores have agreed to a remote work arrangement after a 3-month probation period. Vincent connects Seth's obsession and accusations to his earlier discussion with Lloyd about a possible Chicago transfer and to Brooklyn's run-in with Mason, understanding the misinterpretation that triggered Seth. They discuss the transfer and affirm their commitment to each other, with Vincent expressing that he would choose her over a move. Both Brooklyn and Vincent confess their love, solidifying their emotional bond. Epilogue: Brooklyn and her friends watch the Champions League final at Wembley Stadium, where Black Castle makes a dramatic comeback to defeat Holchester 4-3. Brooklyn celebrates with Scarlett and Karina and reunites with Vincent on the sidelines, embracing and sharing a passionate moment. 6 months later, Brooklyn has returned to London permanently after completing her probationary period with the Moors. She moves in with Vincent and they settle into domestic life together. Seth, the previous intruder, is in prison, and a new, fully vetted kit manager has replaced him. Spike's security measures remain in place, but he is no longer employed. Vincent and Brooklyn enjoy everyday life, including watching television together and sharing intimate, playful moments. Vincent reflects on his accomplishments, but values his relationship with Brooklyn above career success or external validation. With Brooklyn by his side, he feels truly at home, safe, and fulfilled, marking the resolution of both the intruder threat and the emotional arc of their long-distance relationship.